mississippi.org. And today is National Vinyl Records Day. How fun is that? And how many of you still have vinyl records stored in your closet? Or maybe you've pulled them out and you are part of the vinyl revival that seems to be going on, which just simply means there's a movement to get back to the turntables and get back to the way music was once loved, which was via vinyl. And there are still record stores in Mississippi that are selling vinyl and sort of part of this movement. And today we're going to hear from Mick Davis. He is the record store manager in Hattiesburg of T-Bones Records and Cafe. So, hey, Mick.
Hey, Rebecca.
Happy National Vinyl Records Day. Is this a big deal for y'all?
It is a big deal for us. It's like you said, the vinyl revival is officially in full swing, and thank you for having me on here.
Well, this is cool because I love nostalgia, and I'll have to say I don't own any vinyl records, but I do think it's neat that people are sort of going back to the slower way of listening to music, or where you actually have to, get it out and put it on the turntable, sit and listen. It's not sort of that fast-paced scroll through it. So, Mick, when were you first introduced to vinyl records and made a career, and how did you make a career out of it?
Holy cow. When I was a kid, it was pretty much all we had. And to hold a vinyl record in your hand, even today, for even me personally, still represents a lot of those childhood memories of looking at that record, looking over the sleeve, poring over the lyrics, and, getting to listen to an album in its entirety, not having to deal with, just songs were pulled for the radio, and also just filling up your entire room at whatever convenience you wanted it to be. So I think that a lot of what people really enjoy about vinyl is that unlike your streaming and all, it's tactile. You can hold on to it. It's like you can hang it on your wall if you want to. And also it's the closest proximity to what something would sound like if it was live, whereas a lot of streaming is fairly compressed, and it doesn't quite sound to the fidelity that a vinyl record does.
So how did you guys get started there at T-Bones Records and Cafe in Hattiesburg? Because it feels like, once the streaming really took off, a lot of our local record stores, became obsolete. But that's not true. There's still a few scattered throughout the state because there are people who are still interested in physical products. So how long has T-Bone Records and Cafe been around in Hattiesburg?
We have been here for 22 years, and under the current ownership and management, we're coming up on our 20th anniversary of that next year, so that's something to look forward to. And we're in this strange position of at once being one of many record stores in the state, and then at one time really being one of the only record stores in the state, and now being the oldest record store in the state in this current climate. So it was weird when everything went to streaming, but to be honest with you, I think that a lot of people, including myself, who are music fans, also seek to own something. I mean, you can read a book online, on your phone, on whatever, but when you actually put it upon your shelf and it's part of a collection, then it's also in turn kind of part of you. So we see a lot of people who are purchasing vinyl records because, they want to have something that's tangible, and again, that they can access whenever they want to, at whatever they want to. You never know when something might be, taken away from streaming or might disappear from the shelves. But if you have it on your own shelf and it's yours, it's pretty much yours forever. So,
have you seen at least like younger generations coming in? I know there in Hattiesburg, you're in a college town. So some of the students there at Southern Miss and the surrounding colleges, I mean, they weren't around in the 60s and 70s whenever, vinyl got, the height of its popularity, obviously. But they're now turning to maybe buying their first turntable or finding their first vinyl. Is it unique talking or interesting talking to the next generation that's interested in vinyl?
I always find it interesting talking to them because I can't help but think about when I was a kid and I was in Jackson at Bebop Record Shop and what an overwhelming experience that could have been for me at the first time. Just a young little kid on my bike going to Maywood Mart. And so I kind of sort of want it to be a little bit easier for them than it was for me. Although truthfully, bebop was really a great place, and but I really want people to introduce to hold the records, to look at them, to actually get to hear what it sounds like, and we've seen a lot of product come out over the last few years that has been targeted to those young buyers. I mean, just last week, we had a Billie Eilish record that sold close to 72,000 copies on vinyl nationwide. And that's pretty much, thanks to that newer generation of vinyl buyers that's coming in, that's eager to collect, number one. And also they've kind of had a taste of what it sounds like compared to the streaming possibilities like I explained earlier. But again, I really feel like vinyl is something for everyone. Like you, and you mentioned your penchant from nostalgia, and we'd love for buyers to come in that just want to, look and see what things that we have that may no longer be in print. And for the newer buyers, we love to show them how a turntable works and, see their eyes kind of light up and understand that this is not just something that's, akin to a Model T or something.
It's interesting, too, Mick. How do y'all get your vinyls? You talk about a lot of them probably are collector's items or maybe not out the way they used to. It feels like there would be a limited number, that there's not like a warehouse of wholesale vinyl anymore. And I may be wrong. I mean, not with the new artists like Billie Eilish putting out things. I mean, that's different. That's new stuff coming in. But what about the older stuff, I mean, that you have a collection of? Are there still ways to get that, or once they're gone, they're gone?
Oh, you're actually pretty much right on the money. It's a lot of sort of like shifting and begging and pleading and trying to get newer things. And then in addition to that, we also run a great pre-loved side of it where we take in vinyl from people who are just looking to sell it, get rid of it, and what have you. It's a lot of what we do as far as getting vinyl is seeking it out from distributors, seeking it out from independent distributors, and even buying direct from labels. But it's kind of like any other business in the sense that you sort of follow your demand. But like unlike a lot of other businesses, we still want to take some chances because we want to also be sort of tastemakers, trying to be ahead of the trend, ahead on the curve as what people would be buying next. So it's a complicated game, but, I think we do it pretty well.
Do you feel like more, well, obviously you're doing it well there at T-Bone's Records and Cafe in Hattiesburg. If you're the oldest or last standing or oldest standing record store in Mississippi coming up on 22 years, do you feel like more artists, I know streaming has really hurt them in terms of sales. Nobody buys CDs the way that they used to. Is this their avenue sort of back to do something what's once was, old but new and fresh again, to sort of get their take back on actually selling something to their audience?
I really honestly think that that's the route that everyone should take. Touring bands, when we get back to touring, they sell a lot of merchandise at their shows to fans in the heat of the moment. And a lot of people love records because they can go see the band and get it signed and get it autographed, and then it's kind of one of a kind. It has a sentimental value. But at the same time, I also would like to point out that everybody is sort of probably a little more gifted than we were in my generation, in that you can listen to an entire album on streaming and then purchase it if you would like to, if you really are behind what that artist is doing, if you really feel an affinity for what they are, and how you want to, again, make them part of your shelf, your collection. So I honestly think that the vinyl record is, again, like the best approximation of what you could sound like. It's tangible, something you can hold in your hand, and also it's kind of nice that it lives in your shelves, in your world, in your place. So it's part of you. That's what we're really looking for.
Mick, can you stick with us? I got more vinyl questions, and I'd also like to know about the other side of your business there at T-Bones Records. You also have a
Go ahead.
cafe, which I think is pretty cool. So we got more without more, and if you're in the Pine Belt area, then you can stop by T-Bones Records and Cafe in Hattiesburg because they are the oldest record store in Mississippi, and they're still serving up vinyls, which it is National Vinyl Records Day. So I figured we would talk to them and talk about the vinyl revival, and we got with us the store's manager, Mick Davis. Okay, Mick, I want to know, what is your most prized vinyl that you've either had, sold, or still own?
Oh, dear. Personally, I kind of have a couple of prizes. I have a Beatles single on VJ that I inherited from my grandmother. She had it for some reason that I do not know, but as a child I discovered it. And that's probably one of my most prized things. And also all of the Beatles, since you played I Got a Feeling there just a minute ago, all the Beatles, when they reissued them in mono, and any original Beatles in mono, would be probably prized possessions for me. Those sound amazing on vinyl, and they actually have just a little bit more material on some of the songs than your normal Beatles that you hear do. So, yeah, in the store, we've had very good fortune as far as bringing in new products that, because we're an independent record store, they do manufacture short runs of things for us. So, for instance, this year we sold a bunch of Sturgill Simpson records that were in colored wax that everyone was happy with. And then on the pre-loved side, we've seen some original Beatles, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin signed records come in, a lot of Elvis. And so being on the other side of the counter and watching these products come in is just a real thrill, and I hope it's something that we can kind of share and translate with shoppers that come in and see us.
We have a text line, Mick, and Darren in Jackson said he still has his stereo from high school. It's a Pioneer with dual recordable 8-tracks, dual recordable cassettes, turntable with diamond stylus and 6 speakers, and on and on and on. So today's, though, in this vinyl revival that we're experiencing, I mean, are millennials or those in the younger generation going back to, the original type of turntables, or do they kind of have their own more portable, more trendier type of devices that they're listening to old school vinyls on?
I would say that it's a pretty good mixture. Most new vinyl fans start out with something that's portable and easy to use, much like getting into the end of the swimming pool that's most shallow, just to see if the water's, warm enough for them. And then if they really do want to dive into the deep end, they'll go for a new turntable that has all the bells and whistles on it, or even better than that, find an old turntable that was well cared for and can be fixed up and put a new needle on there, and it sounds like $1 million. I mean, these old turntables that they used to make back in the day, some of those things are just real prizes, museum prizes, kind of like what you were talking about with the email, the text person's system there. Go ahead.
No, so do you have a date of maybe like a decade of turntables that would be those prized possessions? I mean, there are people listening to Good Things right now. They're starting to scratch their brains about what's in their grandparents' closet or attic or storage unit, that they may not realize could have some value or just, neat if fixed up. So is there like a specific era when turntables were their best?
I'd have to give it to the 1970s because that was when having a hi-fi system, as they called at the time, that was a big deal. In my house, when I grew up, we had a very nice turntable, receiver, speakers, and I knew that was no toy for me, but I did spend a lot of time in front of it playing with it. I was very fortunate. I'd also say that the 70s developed the turntables that DJs use, like the Technics 1200 that was commonly used in hip-hop and still is used today. So those tables are built to last. There's tables by a company named Dual that are built out of basically a plank of wood with a hole drilled into it, and then the the sort of the parts placed in there, that you couldn't change that for anything. That's the easiest thing to care for and fix and modify. So.
Well, Mick, if we are coming through Hattiesburg, which we encourage everyone to visit their own state here in Mississippi, get out and explore. Maybe they're in the Pie Belt area and didn't realize that you guys were there. You don't just offer vinyls and records, you also have a cafe. So if we're interested in coming and maybe looking through the nostalgia, we can enjoy a cup of coffee and maybe some lunch too. So tell us about the cafe side.
The cafe side is great. Yes, we do a very good lunch. We're open basically every day from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and I like to tell people that we serve lunch for pretty much all those hours. So we have sandwiches, a wonderful array of those, many of those with our very own house-made dressings. We also do salads, we do soup, we do wraps, and we have a series of house-made desserts that come from our kitchen too. And if that wasn't enough for you, there's also coffee, tea. We even have our own blend that we do with Jittery Joe's in Athens, Georgia, that you can pick up. And then finally, probably the signature drink that we have is our cold brew, which is made daily here. And you can pick it up in various strengths, however you're feeling, whatever jolt that you would like to get, or even pick it up in a bottle and take it with you and keep it in your refrigerator so that when you need that little bit of energy at home, you can make your very own drink. And we also sell books, and we have our own T-shirts, any number of things. Basically, the ideal trip might be if you stop by to see us, come in, place a food order, then keep yourself busy in the vinyl section, looking at those prices like we talked about. And then when the bell rings, we'll bring you your food. You can sit down and eat, have a very leisurely stop with us here in Hattiesburg, and then be back on your way to all the many other great places in the state of Mississippi.
So, Mick, where are y'all located? We're talking about T-Bone's Records and Cafe in Hattiesburg, but where are you in the city?
We are at 2101 Hardy Street, which is 4 blocks away from the main intersection of Hardy Street, which is kind of the main drag here in Hattiesburg, and Highway 49, which brings you in from Jackson or the coast, or even on the Meridian side. And we're about 4 blocks away going toward the downtown, and we're also conveniently about 4 blocks away from the campus of the University of Southern Mississippi.
Well, very conveniently located for anyone that's traveling or just getting out and wanting to explore. But if they're listening to Good Things, Mick, and maybe they thought, oh, man, he may have exactly what I'm looking for in terms of vinyl. I know some of that is very, collector-like. Can they get in touch with you guys via maybe social media or call in before making a trip down, even though I encourage that too, but to sort of see if maybe you've got something that's missing in their collection?
Oh, please do. We're very involved in all the social media, Facebook and Instagram especially. We all are very accessible in those ways, in email, on the phone, and we have our own website at tbonescafe.com where we even have some of the new releases that we have for sale, or you can even pre-order things, and any of this, if you're interested, we can even ship it to you anywhere in the United States. So.
Last question. Jeff in Oxford asked Mick, do you guys buy used vinyl? He's got hundreds, he says, from the 70s and 80s.
Yes, we do. We love the used vinyl. We love to go through it. We love to buy it. And we love to find it a good home down here. So please, Jeff, get in touch with us. We look forward to talking to you.
There you go. There's lots of ways to make that vinyl connection, to be part of the vinyl revival. I would say I'm going to start by at least trying to find one to listen to, because I know I've heard it before, but it's just not something I grew up with. So I envy all of those that have that in their childhood, because it sounds like, it's easy listening, as they would probably say. So, Mick, we appreciate your time and everything you're doing there in Hattiesburg.
Thank you so much for having me, Rebecca, and thanks to everybody for tuning in today. And again, happy Vinyl Record Store Day from all of us here at T-Bones to you.
All righty, pretty cool. Maybe I took you back down memory lane. You can share with us maybe not your final, but it could be your final vinyl that you listened to as a kid or as a teenager. And yes, someone mentioned I should have used the word hipsters. Maybe not millennial was the right terminology. That is completely fair. It was a much better.
Hipsters are a very millennial thing, though.
Yes, but it's a subset of millennials because not all, sort of lean towards that way. But I think it's super cool. I think there's a lot of good that can come out of slowing down, enjoying something like a vinyl record, connecting that back to your parents or grandparents if that's what they enjoyed listening to, and just the cool history that's behind a lot of those records. But you guys stick with us. We've got more good things for you.